Hey everyone, how's it going? Hope you're all doing good. I'm going to talk about a book I finished reading earlier this year by Naomi Wolf. It's called The End of America. And so a lot of you are probably familiar with this book. She gets a lot of airtime now from people on the right side of the political spectrum. She wrote this back, I don't know, '06 or something around there. It's basically a warning because she was scared that the U.S. was headed down a path to tyranny, totalitarianism, authoritarianism, whatever you want to call it. And she gave a bunch of examples in the book of how the Bush administration was leading our government towards this totalitarianism. And I guess in the last couple of years, she realized that the threat wasn't really from the right, it's from the left. Now, of course, throughout history, there have been totalitarian governments from both sides of the political spectrum, but I'd say it's a safe bet to say that the biggest and most present danger and threat is obviously coming from the left in this country. So, in this book, she lists 10 steps that authoritarian governments take basically to establish control and gain power so that they can never be in a position to relinquish that power. So I'm going to run down these real quick and then I'll go back and talk about some of them. So first she says that step one, invoke an external and internal threat. Step two is establish secret prisons. Step three is develop a paramilitary force. The next step is surveil ordinary citizens, then infiltrate citizens groups. The sixth step is arbitrarily detain and release citizens. Step 7, target key individuals. 8, restrict free press. 9, cast criticism as espionage and dissent as treason. And the final step is to subvert the rule of law. So obviously these are steps that can be taken in various order. They don't have to go, I don't think her steps was a ABC number 1 through 10 in that order. It was just a list of things that these governments do to secure their power and oppress the citizens. So her examples were all coming from what the U.S. government was doing in response to the war on terror. But I'm going to be talking primarily about stuff we see going on current day and age, and we all know that's not coming from, well, we know where that's coming from. So let's just get into it. So first, invoke an external and an internal threat. Well, is COVID 1984 internal or external? I guess it kind of serves as both. Next step, establish secret prison. So the J6 people, that pretty much qualifies where they're being held, right? The next step is develop a paramilitary force. Well, the leftists have Antifa. That's basically a paramilitary force. They're out in the streets whenever the powers that be want to stir shit up. And she talked about in her book, what happened over there in Europe in the 30s under that guy with the funny mustache, that Austrian dude, and talked about all that. And when she's talking about that, you can see the parallels. The next step is surveil ordinary citizens. So this has been going on since post 9/11 with the Patriot Act, and she talked a lot about that. And I think a lot of people, and I would say, I probably fell into this category to some extent. Back then we had a threat from Islamic terrorism. I'd still say that threat exists, but it's been greatly diminished by various actions over the years. But a lot of people had the thought of, I don't really care if the government's spying on people because I don't have anything to hide anyways. But people who had that position, I think they've come to realize that the reason that you don't want them doing that is because at some point they turn that on you. And I don't really have anything to hide. But when they're out hunting their political opponents and going after people who have the wrong thoughts in their heads, that's a whole different ball game. And that's kind of what we see coming to fruition now. The next step was infiltrate citizens groups. So if you pay any attention to what's going on these days, the FBI is all up in various groups, and not only infiltrating, but basically doing what the average person would consider entrapment, leading up to stuff that happened over there in Michigan and stuff that happened on J6. What else we got? Target key individuals. Well, blatantly obvious. Look at what happened to people such as Peter Navarro, Steve Bannon, Roger Stone. I need to say no more. Then we got restriction of free press. Well, we know that lamestream media is basically Dem-controlled media. I mean, it's lockstep. Something happens, and within a matter of minutes, you have Dem politicians out there talking point A, B, and C, and then you turn on the likes of CNN and MSC, NBC, and all that other crapola. Boom, pow, bang, the exact same talking points. And then social media, we all know the censorship going on with those clowns. And then the other step here of casting criticism as espionage and dissent as treason. Well, we had an insurrection. So we all know that these steps here she basically wrote a how-to book, but I'm pretty sure these asswipes doing all this shit already knew this stuff. But, someone puts it in a book and you read it, and then you see this boom, pow, bang. It's a checklist. All this shit's going on. Then the final item here is subvert the rule of law. So currently what we got going on is, if you're in a certain class of people, you get prosecuted. And if you're favored classes, you don't tend to get prosecuted. In addition to that, we have the powers that be right now out there subverting the Supreme Court. And so, the rule of law is definitely being subverted this day and age. So, I think I give it a quick rundown, but I would recommend reading this book by Naomi Wolf, The End of America. If you're leaning to the right, some of what she says in there might kind of annoy you. I think she was a little bit, from my perspective, I didn't care for some of what she had to say, but, in hindsight, we realized that George W., he sat back and let these lefties, they called him Hitler too, and bashed him, and he sat back and didn't fight back. And that's why we end up getting Orange Man bad, because he did fight back, but that's not what I'm here talking about. But then when Orange Man bad did get in office, George W. Bush, after years of keeping his zip, now he got to talk. So now we know that the likes of the Bush family and, McCain and these rhinos like, what's that Mormon guy's name? Mitt Romney. These guys are all uniparty jerk-offs. And they're, basically now, and always, well, not always, but they're in lockstep with the Dems now. And even back then, they were in lockstep with them on certain issues. Kind of covered this in a book I'm reading right now, the Kurt Schlichter book that's out. We'll Be Back. He kind of talks about that, but maybe I'll talk about that some other day. But if you want to read the handbook on how these tyrannical governments operate, 10 steps, it's a checklist, because all this shit is going on right now. And so it's dangerous times we're living in, and hopefully things can be turned around. But I'm going to wrap it up now. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Please like, share, and subscribe if you did. I'll catch you all in the next one.